everybody. Here is avoiding gridlock, evaluating your memo using the grid. And what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about some reasons why you would do this. Then we're going to go over the grid, and I'm going to talk about what each of the little categories mean and what I'm looking for and what I want you to be looking for with your memo. And then I'm going to close with some words to the wise. Okay? So there's 4 points I want you to bear in mind as I ask you to evaluate your own work. Okay? It actually is a useful exercise. What the grid does is it provides you a framework, a way to look at your own work as if you were somebody else looking at it. To basically start to function for yourself as a very focused reviewer and to get some distance from your own work, okay? At the end, I ask you to give yourself a grade. I want you to know that that is not your grade. You might think that that goes without saying, but sometimes people will be like, I gave myself an A. Why didn't I get an A? What's going on here? Isn't this A-level work? Okay? It's just something, the more you put into this exercise, the more you will get out of it. I promise. The more you really avoid going, yeah, it's fine. Everything's good. I'm good. I'm great. The more you avoid that and you ask yourself the hard questions about your work, or you find somebody else to ask those hard questions of your work, the better your rewrite is going to be and the better your work is going to be when you do a final revision for the final portfolio. Finally, if you're in doubt, if you're sitting there looking at your memo going, I don't know, if you're wondering what these things mean, if you're wondering how to apply them, then please, this is a great time right at the beginning of the class to make an appointment with me to receive specific feedback on your memo. That's another thing that will be really useful. I'm probably going to catch things that you won't catch, and I think that it's great to get into the habit of doing this, and failing that, thinking about going to the writing center. Okay, so let's take a little look at the grid. You'll notice that it's divided into different criteria. Unlike previous versions of this grid, I have not, assigned points to it or anything like that, because this is an English class, not a math class, and depending on the type of memo you have and the type of things you're writing, different criteria are going to be less or more important, okay? So one thing is, when you go through your memo, we're looking for you to have no spelling or grammatical errors. And this is one of the things that gets people, it's one of the things that's most avoidable, and it's a place where you can gain a lot of ground in terms of your improving a memo, is look for just those simple things, the mechanical things, the grammatical problems, saying would of when you meant would apostrophe VE or would have. Just pay attention to it. The memo needs to be at least 3 paragraphs long. I know that's self-explanatory. It should not be a gigantic block of text. Think about how you're going to break it up. You're going to have a first paragraph where you're going to introduce the topic of your memo. You're going to have a middle paragraph that's going to talk about the solution that you're proposing. You might have a third paragraph that talks about rewards and consequences, and then you're going to have a final paragraph that is that concludes and offers contact information. By the way, a really quick note. I state this in other places, but please know you do not sign a memo. It doesn't have a signature at the bottom. That's a letter, not a memo. That's another one of those little errors in terms of formatting that it's easy to get rid of, and people for some reason are just like, I feel so, I have to sign it. Don't sign it. Okay, so memo clearly describes the problem and the solution. So I've talked about this in other places, and the book talks about this. This is probably one of the most important criteria, is that when you sit down to provide a solution to a problem, it is workable, it is logical, there is enough detail, and it is presented respectfully. In other words, you're not like you morons who are smoking where you're not just supposed to smoke. You're going to get fired. Well, that is a solution, but is it workable, comprehensive, et cetera, et cetera? We really want you to think about that. This next one, the memo offers contact information. I am such a stickler about this. I know it seems ridiculous that you're asking. You're like, well, I work with these people. How can they not know how to get a hold of me? But imagine that somebody receives your memo and takes it home with them because they don't have time, because they're on their shift, to talk to you about it. They need your entire phone number with the area code and the whole thing spelled out and the extension if they need it. It is considered the plight of a new employee who may not actually know where your office is, and you want to make sure that they know that. I understand that this is information that people can find out, but as you go into the task of communicating in the workplace, communicating professionally, you need to realize that your number one goal in a situation like this, where you're writing a memo, is you want people to do something. In order to get people to do something, you need to make it easy for them to do something. So if you want them to talk to you, you need to just go a little extra step and give them the contact information. That way, if somebody's panicking or worrying about something, they don't have to search around and try and find it, in which case a lot of people are like, I forget it. It's right there, everything's there, you made it easy for them, okay? Then, moving on to the next criteria, you use the correct memo format, and the parts are shown in successful writing at work. I already alluded to the fact that you do not sign a memo. Please don't sign your memo at the bottom. Okay? Thank you. That would be great. By the way, I will point out, though, that many times when on the to line or on the from line, people will put their initials in handwriting. You don't have to do that since you're submitting this electronically, but they do that. That's not the same thing as signing it at the bottom. Okay? One is okay. The first one's okay. The second one is not okay. Using appropriate language for a business memo. So along with the memo clearly describing the problem and its solution, what is absolutely vital is that your language is professional, your tone is impersonal, and you are really thinking about how is this going to be received by the audience. Now, I use the word impersonal, and this is something that I argue many times to people who are engaged in business writing. I strongly believe that emotion has no place in professional communications. It is when you are trying to get people to do things, when you're trying to help people organize themselves, when you're trying to teach people and guide them or reach out to them, even if they are being morons and you are in the right, you still owe it to yourself and to your working relations with the people who surround you to think about this as, I am going to present this in as impersonal, and I don't mean robot-like. I mean that you're not saying, you are doing something wrong, you are screwing up, but more saying, there have been issues with, or such and such has been an issue. We are going to address this in the following way, so that what you're doing with that, using language to create bridges, to create connections, instead of helping people itching for a fight start swinging. And in my many, many years in all sorts of different workplaces, I have seen how a well-written piece of workplace communication can really make a difference. It can make people feel trusted. It can make them feel respected. It can make them feel understood. And a poorly written one can get you a whole bunch of people with torches and pitchforks clamoring at your gate for your head. So you really need to address this and think about that. Finally, organizationally, the memo makes sense. I'm sorry, not finally. Second to the last. The memo makes sense. It sticks to the topic and contains sufficient detail. great example about sufficient detail. If you end up writing a memo that involves the dress code, okay, and I address this in an announcement as we start working on memos, really, really ask yourself, well, what do I mean by business casual? Because what I mean by business casual might be different from what you mean by business casual. Think about how you can create enough information so that people can follow the rules that you're setting out. Big thing for dress code. Okay. And then finally, there is a checklist at the end of the chapter on memos, and this will help you go through and we want to make it and use those kinds of criteria as well. Okay. So finally, some words to the wise. My husband, who has worked in state government for over 30 years and has seen many a memo and report pass by, has a saying which I love to apply when I am doing professional writing. How could this possibly be misunderstood? Ask yourself that question. How are you going to, or are there ways in which people will misinterpret this? Because, all right, let's all be honest. Not everybody who you work with is the sharpest tool in the shed. You know the mistakes they make. And think about those people. Think about that audience. Think about helping them without condescending to them or being rude to them. Think about helping them to do what it is you want them to do. Okay? How could they misunderstand it? I said before, I'll say again, make an appointment with me to go over your memo. Okay? And look, here's a proofreading error. Okay? If you don't have the time to do that, then have a friend who routinely produces professional documents read through your memo and offer you advice. Okay? It'll still be really helpful. Also, I strongly encourage you to make use of the Writing Center. There is a link to it in the Get Help section in our Blackboard menu. They have online help, and they're very excited to work with online written comm students. We just received something about that. And I think that you will find them incredibly helpful. And I hope you found this at least marginally helpful. Have a great day.